Oh, no, no. Good morning, everybody. I am Councillor Les Fry, representing Dorchester West. We would now like to elect a chair for the meeting. Do I have a proposal from one of my members of the subcommittee, please?
Can I propose Councillor Fry, please?
Happy to second Councillor Fry.
Thank you both very much. Do we have any apologies? Elaine, please.
Apologies for absence were received from Councillors Emma Parker, David Taylor and Mike Dyer, substituted by Councillors Brian Heatley and Sarah Williams.
Thank you, John. Do either of the councillors have any declarations of interest here? Thank you both, and nor do I. Do we have any urgent business?
There's no urgent business, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I would now like to do some introductions. As said, I am Councillor Les Fry from Dorchester West. My colleague on my right is...
I'm Councillor Brian Heatley from Rodwell and Wyke in Weymouth.
And I'm Councillor Sarah Williams from Bridport.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to go around the room and ask everybody to introduce himself so that we all know who is here is okay. I'm going to start with my left here.
Good morning, I'm Laura Autry from Legal Services.
Thank you, Laura. John?
John Miles, Democratic Services. I'll be taking the minutes for this meeting. Thank you.
And Elaine Tibble, Democratic Services.
I'm Catherine Miller, Senior Licensing Officer and Report Author.
Thank you all. Now we can go to our guest here this evening.
I'm David Mountjoy, co-owner of Wilkeswood Reggae Festival. Mountjoy.
Morning, I'm Aaron Trainer, Director of Wilkeswood Reggae Festival as well.
Thank you both very much. I'm now going to ask the report author to outline the details of the notice and the case, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This application, excuse me, is to consider an application to vary a premises licence for Wilkeswood Farm Wilkeswood Reggae Festival in Swanage. The application is to vary the licence to add Thursday to the current licence area with the following: supply of alcohol on and off the premises to commence at 0900 hours on Thursday and to go through to 0200 hours on Monday. Live music, recorded music and the performance of dance between 10 a.m. and 0200 hours, and late night refreshment, indoors and outdoors, between 2300 hours and 0500 hours. All the other timings and conditions remain as per the licence Appendix 2. There have been no representations made by any of the responsible authorities. There was one representation received from an interested party on behalf of other residents, but these people had not written in separately, and this can be found at Appendix 2. However, since the writing of the report, we have received a letter of representation from one of the represented parties, which has been added as a supplemental, and everybody has received a copy. I'd like to remind members that the steps available today are to modify the conditions of the licence or to reject the whole or part of the licence. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Any questions so far?
I think in the papers it says you've had no issues with this licence before. Can you confirm that?
Yes, we've had no complaints, and Environmental Health haven't made a representation, neither have the police as well.
So, thank you, Catherine. You just confirm the actual change, the variation bit, it's just the Thursday is the difference.
It's the addition of the Thursday for the regulated entertainment, and they want to then go from Thursday at 9 o'clock all the way through to 2 o'clock. I'm sure the applicants can confirm that, but that's what they've applied for.
Thank you, Catherine.
No further questions. My questions have been asked. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm now going to ask the applicant if they would like to outline what they would like from this panel, please.
Yeah, we applied for a temporary events notice last year to open for the Thursday, so we could invite the locals to come in for free as a soft opening. So basically to try and promote good relations within the community. That was successful, and so we would like to be able to open the entire festival just to help with the ingress, egress as well, with people having the ability to arrive on the Thursday evening to set up their camping and stuff. That should, and that'll help with some of our traffic management for the Friday morning, normally coming in and off site. That's really it.
Thank you very much. Questions so far from the committee?
Can you give us a bit more of a picture of your festival as a whole? I mean, numbers of people you expect and when they're going to be there, and just to give a bit more feel about it.
Certainly. So it's a family-friendly reggae festival. Sorry, I just gone blank for a minute. It's a family-friendly reggae festival. So basically, we would just like to open that. Can you repeat the question again? Sorry. Could you repeat the question again?
I was wondering how many people you expect, how big this is likely to be, how much you expect on Thursday as compared, say, to Saturday, and so on.
Okay, yeah, so we have a self-imposed capacity of 2,500 is what we've self-imposed after speaking to the farmer and based on looking at the infrastructure of the site. We don't expect those sort of numbers on the Thursday, but we would like to be, we expect more than what attends would cover. So we would expect, hopefully we'll get a good take-up from the locals coming to see what's going on. So they've got a real picture of what the festival is like. And also we'd expect, I don't know, probably a percentage, somewhere around 500 people would arrive who would take that opportunity to arrive earlier on the Thursday just so they can be set up with their camping at campsite, bits and pieces, so they can fully enjoy the Friday.
Thank you. Thank you. And one other question. I've looked at the map, and the farm seems to be some way from the main village where most people are. About how far is it? And there seem to be a lot of trees there. Is this inside the area with the trees, or is it perhaps somewhere outside that area?
So the actual layout of the farm, we're quite fortunate in the fact that it sits in a valley. So where the licensed area is in the bottom of the valley. The campsites then head up into the field. So I think the house that's closest to us, where the objections come from, is probably about 0.8 of a kilometre. So it's not, I mean, it's about a kilometre really from the licensed area. But a lot of the beauty of the site is we've got a natural sound control with the way that the valley and the sound bounces into effectively the hillside. And part of the reason why we'd like to apply for the later licence is to keep people in that area so that we can control the noise in the campsite. Because a lot of, when it gets later at night, we've found with our noise consultants, where we don't have the ambient noise throughout the daytime, that campsite noise carries a lot more. So we have no amplified music in the campsite as part of a restriction on campers, as well as no fires or barbecues, for instance. So part of being able to control our sound, like part of our sound management plan, is to control the people in the actual area as opposed to the campsite, which again is controllable, but actually in terms of noise, because it's family friendly, we like the people that want to perhaps stay up a bit later, because we realise 12 o'clock, if you're having a party, for instance, some people may want to go to bed a bit earlier if they've got kids. For instance, we like the campsite to be a quiet zone for people to be able to take their kids away and keep the adults that perhaps want to stay up a bit later in that controlled area. So.
Thank you very much for that. this moment, I don't have any questions. No, we have a gentleman online, and I do apologise. We didn't introduce yourself, and we don't. Can you just come in and tell us who you are, please, and then we'll give you an opportunity to tell us your points.
I'm not sure. Can you hear me? Are you referring to me? Probably. Am I the only one?
Yes, I am referring to you, sir. If you would like to introduce yourself and tell us and give us the reason why you're joining this meeting today.
Okay, well, my name is Ian Vaughan Arbuckle. I'm a councillor in Langton and Travers, but I hasten to add that I'm not representing the council this morning. I live probably in the closest house to the Reggae Festival, which the gentleman said is 0.8 of kilometre. I would dispute that. It's closer than that. It essentially is 2 fields away from the main area where the music is taking place. Now, we've had experience of this festival now for probably 4 to 5 years. And I remember going to a meeting in the early days after the first Reggae Festival and meeting the organisers and objecting to the amount of music, the sound, the volume of the music the previous evening. They took action, and that action worked. They had sound monitors leading away from the main music in the farm, spread out, and they also gave us telephone numbers that we could contact in the event that we had any problems. That worked well. The trouble is that over the ensuing years, that has fallen away to the point where last year and the year before, to a lesser extent, the music became unbearable. It started early in the evening and continued to beyond midnight, to the point where I know that other people who live in the area telephoned the police about the noise, and that was the only recourse we had to get in touch with the organisers. Although they talk a good game, I have to say that they're not true to their word, generally speaking, and what they say doesn't bear out during the festival. Now, I'm also talking on behalf of 4 other people who live close, and I did write in to the organiser of this meeting, I think the licensing department, I think somebody called Catherine, and said that I was representing. And at the last minute, well, about 10 days or a fortnight ago, I got in touch with her and said, is everything all right? And she said, well, you can't represent these people. So I said, okay, fair enough. And I got in touch with the people concerned. And of course, by that time, they'd lost the will to live. And to write in to yourselves to make a full objection makes life very difficult for some people. But there is nevertheless the fact that these people have had to put up with a considerable amount of noise late in the night. Now, I'm personally I'm in favour of the festival. I know the farmer concerned. He is also a councillor, and if only they would be reasonable about it, we would not be sitting here today discussing this issue. I think, nevertheless, it's come to the point now where the noise is unbearable, and I think beyond midnight is just unacceptable in this day and age. I mean, many people who live in this village close by are elderly and probably go to bed earlier than normal, and you know, the festival has become a running sore with them. If only we could come to some sort of agreement whereby They had monitors out in the fields to monitor the noise and be a focal point for people who had ongoing problems about the noise, and that action was taken. The other point I want to make is that in the two fields directly below my house, that is where people camp. And I have to say that the music in Ghetto Blasters goes on well beyond 2 o'clock in the morning anyway. And having these people out monitoring the sound worked well in that year. And if that was reinstituted and organised properly, I think we could come to some sort of conclusion. But we'd have to have a guarantee, I think, that this was going to be done properly and that we had all the telephone numbers we could call in the event that the noise became unbearable. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, I didn't catch your name. It was just a bit, I think the electronic wizardry didn't come across.
But it's complicated enough anyway, but it's Ian Vaughan Arbuckle, VAUGHAN-ARBUCKLE. And as I said, I'm a councillor in Langton Le Travers, but I hasten to add that I am not representing the council today.
Thank you very much, sir. I managed to catch it then. Thank you for your quick. Colleagues, councillors, any questions for Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle?
Hello, just one question, Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle. We've heard from a licensed officer that the Dorset Council has never been contacted with any complaints about this festival. Is that correct, that you've never contacted the council up to this application?
No, I don't know exactly, but I do know that 1 or 2 people who live here have continued to try to contact the council once the festival is going, and the duty number and all that just does not work. And as I say, the recourse that they had was to phone the police. And of course, in this day and age, you don't really get a response. They give you a number and say, we've logged your objection, and that's about it. So all in all, we've come to a bit of a blind alley, I'm afraid.
But you yourself have never tried to contact the council regarding this until this application came in?
Well, not as a result of the noise, no, because as I say, late at night is probably pretty important. I mean, I knew that other people had tried and hadn't. What I did try and do was to contact the organisers of the concert themselves, and that was impossible. And there's no point, in my view, contacting the council. I mean, you need immediate action when this is happening. After the event, the horse has gone, and it's all too late then. And I think, yes, that's it.
Chair, I think I want to hear the response of the organisers to this before asking any further questions.
Yeah, I'd like to say I think this gentleman's being slightly disingenuous in how he's saying he's only representing himself, but obviously referencing other people, which to me sounds like hearsay. We've never been contacted by the police or the licensing about us breaching our terms of our licence at all. We've never actually run to the full capacity of the late night licence. We've always finished by about 1 o'clock. As a respect to the local residents, we do have a direct contact number that we are available on, which, I don't know many other festivals where residents can phone the 2 directors of an event directly, but the gentleman does have to understand it's a dynamic situation. We've got to be, if we've got situations on site that we have to deal with, potentially, safeguarding children or, event safety, that takes precedence over us taking a phone call from local residents. So as far as I know, we've never been contacted by a relevant authority to say that we've acted outside of our licence. We've always tried to work closely with with Langton particularly, because Paul Loudon, the farmer who runs Wilkeswood Farm that we rent the site from, is a parish council member anyway. So, you know, it's within our interest. And part of putting the Thursday on is to allow everybody from the village to come in and see what we do. We're proud of how we operate. You know, we're a small festival, but we pride ourselves on high production. You know, it's what we do is the same level as somebody that does Glastonbury, for instance, but on a smaller budget, but with the same attention to detail. You know, and we're passionate about what we do. This isn't us trying to be slippery and get an extra day in. This is a, you know, we did Thursday on a TENS last year, and there was no objections of that Thursday at all. I don't think anybody in the village actually knew the Thursday was on. But so this year we wanted to add that onto the licence to be able to give ourselves the capacity to sell extra tickets, to allow people to come in early, but equally gives us an extended capacity on the TENS, for instance, for the whole of Langton to come in and join us on that Thursday night. And that's really why we wanted to put this on our licence as opposed to putting it in on a TENS, because last year the TENS was successful. There was no problems with it. And we realised that actually there's scope there to give ourselves the option to allow more people to come in from the village and join us in what we do.
Yes, this phone number, I think from what you're saying, you have had a phone number. How do you tell people in the village what that number is and that it is available? Because we're getting slightly different evidence from Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle.
Yeah, so if I can answer this. So we send a letter around to all the houses in the nearest vicinity, which states our intentions and also has the phone number on. I did take a call from a resident last year while the festival was live. As my colleague mentioned, if there's something like, if we say have a lost child or something like that, then obviously that takes precedence. We have to lock the site down. We'll be in communication with the security. Just as a point of order, I would like to sort of point out that the festival didn't run over the pandemic. Last year was the first time we did it for 3 years, because due to the restrictions, we didn't hold it the 2 previous years. The year that we did hold it, prior to the one that's just been, that was the year where we'd spoken to Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle and we put the system in place. And I believe he actually emailed the council to say how successful that system was in place. So since that happened, we've only actually had one festival, this one that we've just come off the back of. And obviously it was quite difficult for people in our industry, not during the pandemic, with not much government support. And so a lot of the people who worked on this festival, they hadn't been working in the festival and for a couple of years really. But we did still have the same system in place that we had 3 years prior when the last festival was on, which Mr. Arbuckle did email the council to say worked well.
Can I come back on this?
Yes, of course, Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle.
I've already said that I'm not necessarily anti the festival, and I've already said that I may have got my years mixed up. But the year that the monitors were in place, I absolutely agree that the system worked well. It did not work well last year, and that has been the cause of all the problems. I would also like to come back on the gentleman who said that I was being disingenuous. Well, it's not only the main site which causes the problem. As I said earlier, the 2 fields that are used for camping, the people come back probably having had a good party, want to continue with that party, get into their tents and put their ghetto blasters on. Now, if you live in the field immediately adjacent or one removed from where those tents are, that can become a very disturbing to your sleep. And the year that I referred to, where they had monitors out, we were able to telephone somebody and get an immediate reaction. In fact, some of the noise was dealt with straight away by the monitor that the festival had out. They realised that it was the loud music coming from a particular tent and took action straight away. Okay, thank you.
So I think Mr Von Arbuckle's just answered our point as to why we'd like to have the extended time on the later licence, is to control people that want to stay up later going off into the campsite and creating that noise. So I think he's sort of missing the point of why we do that. You know, it's to directly try and stop the issues that he's having with the campsite, hence why we want to be able to control people in the licensed area where we can control the sound. You know, we do have security that go around and monitor the campsites 24 hours, and they're instructed to confiscate any amplified music in the campsites. So, you know, he's sort of answered our point.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to ask Mr Vaughan Arbuckle a question. We have to determine the application which is before us, and the application that's before us is for the extension to the Thursday. Now, a lot of what you have been telling us are things about the festival in general. I'd like to know whether you have any particular reasons why you think the extension to the Thursday is not acceptable, perhaps beyond simply saying, well, it's another day. I can understand that. But is there any other reason why the extension to the Thursday is something you don't want to see?
No, I don't have any objection at all to the extra day. What the main objection is to do with the noise and the sound, the music going on beyond midnight to 2 o'clock in the morning. I just think that's totally unreasonable. And if you live close by, you know, your sleep is disturbed for the days when the festival is on. And to my mind, that is just completely unacceptable. So the objection is noise, not the number of days.
Thank you very much, Mr Vaughan Arbuckle. That's very helpful for us all to hear. Now, we're here just to look at the variation of licence, but I'm going to ask the applicants if they could look at the phone number situation, please. I absolutely take the point that when you're dealing with events, incidents, you're dealing with safeguarding, you may be distracted. Is there a better system that you could put in place, a point of contact, a control room where you've got a phone that's one number that you could both pick up or something like that? I think it's important that local residents are able to contact you because it may be about an incident. And that we will leave that to you to come back with a situation where phone numbers are. And I would suggest perhaps on your website for people to contact you so that if they don't get the letter, if they've been the letter or the cat's eaten it or something like that, that there's still a way of finding that phone number so that Mr Vaughan Arbuckle or others can contact you about that. And the other thing is, do you have a community group, a community liaison group that you can meet directly with the residents at all?
We don't have a community as such. I mean, working with Paul Loudon, who is obviously a parish council member, he sits on the parish council every time it sits, and he's quite a big member of the community anyway. So we sort of that our liaison. I mean, we previously donated money to help build their play park for the kids. You know, we try and give back to the community where we can. You know, and equally that's the whole point of being able to invite people to come and join us for free.
Thank you. Go on.
If I may, we're trying to sort of start a community liaison by inviting all the residents for the Thursday so we can get a real feel, so they can have a full understanding of what we do and we can get a real feel of how it affects them also. So that's the main reason for extending the licence.
Yeah, and I take note of that. I think it might be in the communities and yours interest to set up some form of community panel, either meet before, meet after. Communication, in my opinion, is key to everything, so that people, Mr Vaughan Arbuckle, or the residents can express their wishes, support, concerns to you, you hear them directly, and then they don't come back to licensing with phone calls or something like that. So I don't think we can condition that today, but I would like to ask that as a suggestion to help the smooth running of the event, if you can do that. And the other one that's come to me looking at this is there any way of restricting music from ghetto blasters in the campsite after a certain time at night, whether you could make that as a condition of camping, please, at your end? Because I do get that. If it's a nice, quiet area, people have had a great night, they had a few beers, they come back, and I know from where I live, they come walking past, and they don't give a diddly squat about the people trying to get some sleep, because their ears are still blasting away. Was that something you could consider, please?
We consider it part of what we instruct our security to do when they're doing their site walks through the campsite on their 24-hour rotation, is anybody that's playing amplified music, they have to confiscate their portable system effectively. So part of the bag searches that we do when people come into the campsite is to confiscate any amplified, sort of portable sound systems or ghetto blasters, for instance. So that is part of our sound management plan for the campsite. So it's already written in. Maybe we could instruct the security to be a bit more forceful on it. But as far as we were aware, that wasn't an issue last year. We didn't have anything come back to us from our security team stating that there were people playing loud music in the campsite, for instance. So therefore, it's not been risen as an issue to us from the people that we pay to monitor that effectively, but it is part of our sound management plan.
Thank you very much. Catherine, can you confirm that's in the plan? Is there any comments you can comment?
I haven't seen a copy of this year's plan, but just to clarify that as the campsite is not included in the licensable area that we're talking about, then no conditions can be added regarding any music from the campsite.
Take that, but I think the event organisers can put a condition as part of their camping that people camp there, that they don't play the music after X time. And I'm not going to say... Mr Vaughan Arbuckle, you've heard my comments there about the phone number, the community group meeting, the sound in the campsite. Do they go a little way towards resolving your concerns?
Well, yes, thank you for your consideration. I mean, obviously, you've taken on board some of the points. I mean, I don't want to get into an argy-bargy with the organiser, but it's easy for them to say this and it's easy for us to say that. I think on the night, what we need is a focal point, a phone number or two phone numbers where there's going to be an immediate response. In the past, it has not been easy to get hold of those people in authority to do something about the comments or complaints that will inevitably come, I'm afraid. And if that is put in place and it does work, then they've gone 80 to 90% the way to doing something about the feelings that residents have. And you know, in the end, if the music is reasonable, there will not be these complaints. It's the thump, thump, thump beyond midnight, which I don't know whether you gentlemen, your lady and gentlemen, have experienced, but it is extremely difficult if that goes on to get a decent night's sleep.
Thank you, Mr Vaughan Arbuckle. We do note that this festival is only 4 days of the year. And as you say, it does provide employment, jobs and entertainment all the way around. But I take your point, and I don't know whether the applicant's got any measures in place to reduce the sound after midnight at all. Is there anything in place or not?
Actually, we reduce the sound from 9 p.m. continually until the end. So the peak of our noise on site is 9 p.m. It then is reduced again at midnight. So we already have that plan in place. But we could set up a WhatsApp group for residents so that then if we can't take a phone call, at least someone can leave a message which would be picked up. Perhaps that would be a reasonable solution.
Mr Vaughan Arbuckle, did you hear that? They're looking to set up a WhatsApp group, so even if you can't get through, you can leave a message there of any issues that you may have.
Well, I don't know. I reserve my judgment on that. WhatsApp group seems to be the answer to everything. And what you need when you're frustrated and you're being kept away by sound is somebody that you can contact straight away. After the horse, when the person picks up the WhatsApp group, the horse is probably gone by then, and the whole point of the thing is lost. So I'm a bit jaundiced about WhatsApp groups in the middle of the night, frankly.
I would disagree with you there, Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle. Having run an event completely with several hundred people over WhatsApp, the responses are very quick. You can just tick the comments, say you've seen it. You don't get into a lengthy conversation. Sometimes there's a noise on the campsite. Can you stop the noise, please? That's all you need to say, rather than a long conversation. The receiver of the message can tick it, say, I've received it, I will deal, job done. It just didn't need a lengthy conversation over the phone. Thank you very much. Right, colleagues, any questions from either of you? Thank Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle. In a minute, I'm going to ask everybody to sum up if they've got anything further to add, but have you got any further points you'd like to raise at this time?
No, I don't think so. I think I've said all I want to say, generally speaking, in very quick summary. I'm not anti, and neither are the residents anti this festival. We are very pro having events in the area. Our main objection, as I say, is music beyond midnight, which generally speaking we feel is unreasonable, particularly when it disturbs one's sleep. And if something is done about that, then it remains to be seen whether it works or not. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And just one point that I didn't pick up on earlier. You said that you were representing 4 others. I take the point of the licensing officer without some evidence that you're supporting him, a signed letter or something like that. We cannot pick up on that because otherwise you could be representing the whole of Langton Travers and we don't have any evidence of that. So thank you for your time this morning. I'm going to just check whether the licensing officer, Catherine's got any questions for you at this moment.
No, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And does the applicant have any questions for Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle at all? No, the shaking head's nothing there. Colleagues, any further questions for Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle? Right, we're now going to go in reverse order to sum up before we go any further, please. Mr. Vaughan Arbuckle, would you like to sum up on anything else you would like to add or to say, please?
No, I think I've said all I want to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The applicant, would you like to add or sum up anything else that you've said or add any further comments?
Just simply, we want to get along with residents. We want to get the balance right. We're happy to communicate with Mr. Arbuckle, and hopefully we can resolve that. We'll move forward with looking at a community kind of liaison group where the residents can come and share their experience with us.
That would be really good if you could do that. In my experience, communication is key to everything, and people can't get through, can't listen, then that would solve a lot of problems. Catherine, anything else from yourself to either party?
No, nothing further to add. Thank you.
Colleagues, anything further? Lara, have we covered everything you think we need?
Yes, Chairman.
Before we finish, does anybody else want to say anything at all? I'm just keen to give everybody their say, please. Silence is golden, as they say. Thank you very much. Right. The subcommittee will now consider its decision in private with the Democratic Services Officer in attendance and the legal advisor who may be called upon to offer legal guidance. The decision of the licensing subcommittee shall be communicated to all parties and as soon as practicable within 5 working days. There is a right of appeal. Any party who wishes to appeal the decision has 21 days from the date of receipt of this notice to submit any appeal to the Magistrates' Court. Thank you very much. I'd now like a vote to go into exempt business, please. Proposed, seconded. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming along this morning. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I am Councillor Les Fry, representing Dorchester West. My colleagues in this meeting are...
I'm Councillor Brian Heatley from Rodwell and Wyke in Weymouth.
Hello, and I'm Councillor Sarah Williams from Bridport.
And for the benefit of our applicants to hear today, I'm just going to go around the room again so that you can know who we are today.
I'm Laura Ucci from Legal Services.
John Miles, Democratic Services. I'll be taking the minutes of this meeting.
Morning, Elaine Tibble, Democratic Services.
Catherine Miller, Senior Licensing Officer and Report Author.
Thank you, everybody. Perhaps if the two applicants would like to introduce themselves, please.
My name is Naga Rajesh. I'm the licensing agent for this application.
My name is Surya Teja. I'm from Sterling Petroleum Limited, area manager.
Sorry, Councillor. My name is Naga Rajesh. I'm the licensing agent.
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay. Do we have any declarations of interest on this one at all? Nothing at all. Thank you very much. I'm now going to ask the licensing officer to outline the application, please.
Thank you, Chairman. This hearing is to consider a new premises licence application for Holton Heath Service Station, Wareham Road, Poole. The application is for the supply of alcohol off the premises, Monday to Sunday from 0600 hours to 2300 hours. The application is at Appendix 1. Dorset Police have requested conditions to be added to the licence if it were granted, and the applicant has agreed for these to be added, and these can be found at Appendix 2. One representation was received from an interested party against the application, and this can be found at Appendix 3. I'd like to remind members that the options available to them today are to grant the licence subject to conditions as the authority considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives and the mandatory conditions, to exclude from the scope of the licence any of the licensable activities to which the application relates, refuse to specify a person on the licence as the designated premises supervisor, or to reject the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Colleagues, any questions? Thank you very much. Over to the applicants to outline your case to us, please.
Thank you, Chair. Before I go into the detail, please let me explain the management structure of this company very briefly. We are Sterling Petroleum Limited. We have a number of sites across the country. Mr. Surya is one of our area manager. We have a local management team for each sites, like an operators, and the area managers will look after the sites on a regular basis. I'm also not one of licensing agent. I works with Sterling Petroleum, and I deal with all the licensing matters for all the sites. So I briefly know how they operate and the history of the company because I worked with them for the past few years. When we make this application for alcohol license for this site, Councillor, we assess the area. We looked at the planning conditions. I know it's a completely different regime, but we looked at the area, we assessed the site, and we went for a very minimum standard hours, 6 to 11 o'clock. I would like to point out we have about 40 odd sites across the country. Almost all of them are 24/7 licensed venues, and we have a very good track record of managing these sites, and we have a management structure to promote the licensing objectives across our site. We are not just asking the alcohol license, but when we made the application, we voluntarily put forward a list of measures as our license conditions with our application. If I briefly mention some of it, Chair, we have full set of CCTV systems to record 24/7, and the recordings will be kept on the premises for 30 days or more. all the standard safety measures, fire safety and everything. Staff training, we never allow any staff to work on our premises before they are fully trained and approved by our management. This is our standard across all the sites. All the basic necessaries, refusal books, incident records, informing the police, working with local authorities and other relevant agencies. In terms of child protection, we have all our sites installed with EPOS terminals. It's like a scanning system when every time they scan alcohol, tobacco, any age-restricted product, the till will pop up and ask the operator to authorize the age and everything. Without completing this task, our staff can't complete the purchase. So this is our company standard we have across the site for every tills. Challenge 25 policy, the refusal register, alcohol located in a secure place, not easy access, spirits are behind the counter, all the measures we put forward when we put the application. And this is going to be our license conditions. In addition to these conditions, when we made the application, police add more conditions. Rather than more condition, Chair, they haven't had any new conditions to our application. They amended the wordings of our conditions, and we agreed everything without any negotiation, and we were open to any suggestions. We have an objection from a local resident, which we can totally understand. We are not taking this lightly. However, we would like to say this, Chair. We are a reputable organization. We have a very good track record. We are not here to create any problem to our neighborhood or the environment because we rely on this small neighborhood. This is a convenience store, so our main customers are the local residents. We're not going to get lots of customers from the passing crowd. That may be for fuel, but not for the shops. It's mainly from the local residents, so we are not going to upset the local residents. Our business relies on the local community, immediate community. The alcohol is going to be a small part of our grocery store. For the success of this business is depending on our immediate neighbors, so we're not going to jeopardize that by causing any trouble in the environment. If I take you to the objection from the local residents, yeah, it's mainly suggesting about the noise disturbance from passing vehicles and motorbikes racing across the street because they are living very close to the street. Our customers have to slow down to get in and get out of the premises, so it's not directly related to the actual objection. This is mainly about the passing traffic. However, we still have all other measures to keep the environment in an orderly manner. Also, this application and this hearing is for the alcohol license. The premises is going to be open 6 to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. The forecourt is there. The petrol station is going to be in operation. The grocery store is going to be in operation. We are asking a small portion of the store to sell alcohol as part of our trade. So that the addition of this alcohol, it's not going to make any difference and it's not going to undermine the licensing objectives, especially when we have all these conditions and the management structures in place to protect the licensing objectives and to promote the objectives. There were no concerns from the noise pollution team, the Environmental Health Department regarding this application, and the police are happy with these proposals. With all due respect, there's only one objection from the local residents. Again, we are not undermining their concerns. We are taking it very serious. But we are giving the assurance our company has. It's not a one-man business. There are lots of safety measures are here. Lots of people will observe the progress of the business and they will assure the compliance. Without undermining the concerns raised by the local residents, I would like to say this, Chair. When it's come to public safety, public nuisance, the relevant authorities who have the right expertise to assess this application with a neutral position. So none of these responsible authorities made any objections, and there was no concerns raised by the RAs as well. In addition to this, there's no other evidence to say this proposal will undermine the licensing objectives. Yeah. So for all these reasons, this application should be granted. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any questions?
Thank you, Chair. We're at a bit of a disadvantage today because we have one objection before us and they're not here. And so I'm going to ask you this question. It's perhaps a bit unfair, but can you give some feel for the physical layout of the shop, the area in front of it, where the residential park is, so I can get a better feel for looking at their fears about antisocial behaviour caused by the sale of alcohol?
Sure, Chair. I don't know whether you have access to the floor plan, but I'll explain to you. It's a main street. Our premises is right next to the main road. It's a busy street. And the premises is, the forecourt is parallel to the main road. There are some residents. There's a driveway in front of the forecourt. The shop is behind the forecourt. The driveway in front of the forecourt, and the driveways leads to a couple of residents there, and there are residents behind that property. I don't know which resident made the objection. The closest property is the one on the other side of the driveway. There's a fence and there's a property other side. So this is a forecourt. The shop is here. So all other properties there's a fence on the right-hand side, and all the properties are behind the area. So we are in the next to the street, and there's some space and some properties. The immediate property, there's about 102 block, is other side of the driveway. That's the layout.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for the answer. And I'm looking at the objection comments there, and they talk about the hours. I'm going to just pick it up because it's fair to the objector. They talk about the long hours that you now run compared with them. Well, that's nothing to do with. That's not an issue. That's a sign of the times. You'd work longer hours to make money. We're already disturbed by motorbikes and cars racing a hole to Neath on some nights with the availability of alcohol. So the racing around, it's not your issue. There's nothing you can do about that, and the noise. And I note your comment, the fact that customers coming to your garage will be slowing down anyway and not racing by. The availability of alcohol could lead to antisocial right on the doorstep. There's no evidence that. We can only deal with what's in front of us today. There is no evidence that that could happen. And I'm not aware of that being a factor of normal other garages.
No, there isn't.
Thank you. They share the entrance with yourselves. We can't. That's not to do with the license there. And the houses, the properties are not made of bricks and mortar. That's not a licensing issue. So I'm sorry. I take it that the objector is not online or not available.
The objector confirmed they wouldn't be able to attend.
That's noted. So I just want to make sure that if they are watching this, that we are giving due process to their objection, and we are taking it seriously, even though they're not here. We're asking questions. Okay, thank you. Colleagues, have you got any questions at all? Thank you. I'm just going to give anybody a chance if they have anything else to say, and then I'm just going to go around briefly to sum up, for people to sum up. Is there anything else you'd like to add at this time?
Just a quick one, Chair. Since it's a petrol station and the forecourt, we always have an extra vigilance compared to the shop, the standard shop, to keep the forecourt area clear and without any sort of trouble, because the fuel pumps and everything. So we clear them as soon as possible. We don't have any sort of nuisance in the petrol station forecourt area. We'd never let anybody to hang around, unlike any other off-license or shop. So The shop is going to be on the other side anyway. So all the safety measures, and it's I don't want to repeat again, it's a company policy, Chair.
And I do note that you have agreed the licensing conditions with the licensing team and the police, and we're grateful to that because that saves a lot of work and hassle. I'm now going to go around and just check, is anybody else want to say anything? Do you want to add anything else to what you've already said?
No, Chair.
Licensing officer, is there any issue you want to say or add?
No, thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, anything else you want to ask or questions you have to go?
No, thank you.
Lara, have we covered everything we think we need?
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Right, so the subcommittee will now consider its decision in private with the Democratic Services Officer in attendance, and the legal advisor may be called upon to offer legal guidance. The decision of the licence subcommittee shall be communicated to the parties as soon as practicable and within 5 working days. There is a right of appeal. Any party who wishes to appeal the decision has 21 days from the date of receipt of this notice to submit an appeal to the Magistrates' Court. Everybody happy with that? Anything else? Right, we now need a decision to go into, proposal to go into exempt business, please.
Can I go into exempt business?
Thank you, proposer. Second. We will now go into exempt business, and at 11:16 the meeting is closed. Thank you very much.